Greet you all students of third year. This is Unit B of paper first. The rhythm in poetry unfolds the rhythm, tuning, and melody of human life. Yes, of course. It makes a lot of difference when you study poetry. It signifies the meaning of life and the reflection of five elements with the representation of beautiful aspects of human existence. It is really civilization, poetry itself. Now, the study of poetry, it signifies the rhythm, tuning, melody, even in day to day life. And it formulates the totality in the human existence. Now, in this context, as we discussed in the last turn also, it is really a must for the bright students to comprehend the significance of poetry in human life. It is not confined to just some imaginative aspects or say writing for the sake of writing, expressing oneself. It engulfs the social, political, religious, moral, ethical, spiritual, geographical, all the aspects of human life. Multidimensional students, remember. And now, here I would like to highlight the pivotal point, the prominent point that the discussion on poetry, it obviously justifies the significance of human existence when I told you earlier also. Now, two important points here I would like to highlight. Now, see here, you just have a look. Meter and metrical composition, it is called. Whenever, we articulate this, the important word which is synonymous with human life. And what's that? Poetry. So my students, I expect that, for them, it must be absolutely clear. Now, two important points, thematic aspects on the one hand and its structural part. And there must be balance between the two. It's not that. Now, listen carefully. I just reiterate the point that you are confined to only structure part, that, poetry, which is, with some, metrical composition, and it is called obviously the versification and some recurrent rhythmic pattern and all that, iambic pentameter, or this is the structure of that, and with the rhyming scheme, that is really very important. We have some kind of intonation, modulation, high tone and low tone, and the pitch, the rising and falling, that is really very important. And it becomes synonymous with the, this kind of tuning. At the same time, thematic aspects, the ideas, the beauty of, the symbolical significance, the different ideologies, emotions, passions, intensity of expression. So this kind of balance. Now here, I would like to make it clear. Your concept should be clear regarding this. So first, we will focus the structural part. Because remember again the point, the balance between the two. Now this balance, the correspondence between the rhythm, recurrent rhythmic pattern, and the meaning of it. So this is, I think, focal point and poetry. So meter and metrical composition. Now, I have generally noticed, because you are in third year, and this is my experience. I generally put up the question with the students: what do you understand by this? The meter and metrical composition. Students find themselves woefully deficient in expressing themselves. So it's not that you just open the book and you start studying, oh, this is Tennyson and this is, your concept should be clear. Because I reiterate the point that study of poetry, it strengthens you, it sustains, and it has an everlasting impact on the human psyche. And the mindset of the people, they are absolutely transformed. This is on the basis of research, that some even terrorists, some criminals, when they recite poems, good poems of poet laureate and of famous personalities and eminent signatures and figures, they have undergone a drastic transformation, metamorphosis of human mind, and they really become good human being. So this is the focus. Now so the balance between the two, first of all, your concept should be clear about the meter. Now what do you understand by the word meter? Now students, here I would like to highlight the point that this is the arrangement of sound, okay, sounds and syllables in poetry into some pattern of strong and weak beats. So you must know here the beats in. There is some kind of beat. Even when you listen to some song, there is some beat in that, some rhythmic pattern with recurrent rhythmic patterns, stressed and unstressed. So this must be clear to you. You must be knowing the fact. You have read entire poem, you don't know what is stressed and unstressed, what is rhythmic pattern and what is meter. This is what I have noticed. That's why today I would like to highlight the point. So some rhythmic pattern, metrical composition, arrangement of recurrent rhythmic pattern. Sounds and syllables are very important. Choice of words, and it is also called verse, V-E-R-S-E. And see, the choice of words and phrases marks the connectivity between meaning, ideas, and the sound and rhythm. Now, I would like to give example. A thing of beauty is of joy forever, and say some kind of some rhythm, some kind of we feel, we sense it, this kind of, and at the same time the meaning of that also. It's not that we are confined to just this metrical composition and structure part only. So this is themes, the notions, and the intonation and modulation. Okay, is that clear? And for instance, you read the poem like say Blake's poem, tiger, tiger burning, so this is also very important poem. Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forest of the night. Okay, so this, see the rhythm, the tune, melody, and at the same time the meaning. Yes, so this is the reason that, see, you put up this question. Now what is the difference between prose and poetry? This concept should be clear to you. In say prose, you just write in some paragraph, and there is continuation of sentences. But another important point I would like to focus here is that in poetry we have, see here, just have a look. What are important points that I would like to focus today? See, just time constraint also, the kinds of poetry we will discuss, and figure of speech. Yeah, these are certain points, and meter. First, here say the meter that we will discuss in much detail. But before that, see the concept of poetry now, and the see the distinction between and the difference between prose and poetry. It must be clear to you. In poetry, actually, we have, as I have just mentioned the point, metrical composition, a piece of writing in which words are arranged in separate entity, separate line. Okay, is that clear? And in prose we have paragraph, but that separate line, it has some rhythm. It is with melody and tuning. So this individual line and sequence of words, sounds, choice of words, and the important points is also that imagery we have. See, this is, just have a look, symbolical significance, vivid images, imagery, and meter that I'll come to the point, the arrangement of words. That's what I have just mentioned here. I mean, so this is, now the first point is separate entity line. Is that clear, students? And then, as I have given you example of thing of beauty is the joy forever, like this, Keats' famous poem. And then we have words and phrases chosen for their sounds and melodious expression. Okay, so this is the point here you must comprehend. Then this, in words, and they are connected with the ideas. Therefore, I have focused the point balance, students. Remember, balance between structural and thematic aspect. Thematic aspect in which we have, say, ideas, meanings, and say different ideologies, and in which you tend to encapsulate the social, cultural, and political, religious, economical, and spiritual, geographical, and different aspects of human life. I mean, in all the walks of human life. So this is the point here, but at the same time, this is structure, it must match. I mean, some students, if I discussed, and I shared my experience at the last turn also, and today I would like to again share. I mean, when I put up this question to the students, are you interested in creative writing? Some students, really, they write very good poems, but expression, but therefore, I mean, this is a good platform for you. You can be really, in future, we must trust you and hope for the best, that you can also write in that way. I mean, so when you study any literary piece, you must have real learning. And yes, life lessons, very important. At the same time, you should also think in positive way that you can also write something, or creative writing, you can also write some good poems in that way, from that point of view also. So here the point is that the ideas and meanings are filled with some passions of poet, intensity of emotion is there. Okay, when we discuss the notion of poetry and metrical composition, so this is and poetry, it covers almost all the issues. So this is the conception of poetry we have. Now, another point, when we metrical composition, also this point we will discuss in much detail also, and as we have discussed earlier also. So poem that can be subjective and objective, and in subjective poem, the poet's personal individual ideas, their feelings are expressed, and objective, without expressing his personality or individualistic stature, the poet it tends to cover different ideas, maintaining objectivity throughout the poem. And so these are certain points when we delve deep in this poetical connotations, poetical expressions. So now this is first, as we discussed earlier, arrangement of sounds. It must be clear to you. Some sounds are there. Now sounds, for instance, example in which we have when I up the mountain hill, the music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. Some sounds are there, and the images sound, of the mountain, trees, and objects of nature. So poetry, which in a way, unity among man, nature, and God. Is that clear? As we have reflection in William Wordsworth's poem and other poems, I mean, even if directly or indirectly, I mean, expression, this is, reflection of 5 elements with the representation of beauty of life in totality. So students, I really reiterate this, with the core of my heart. I have also passion for, writing poems, and and especially for this kind of, that my special bent of mind, that students also, they should also be very much interested in the beauty of life. And even it covers the scientific approach also. It's not that it is something away from science. So when we talk about imaginative vision or extraordinary sensibility, it encapsulates and girls all the important aspects of human life. Now we have choice of words. Students, see metrical composition. You can have a look. This is very important. Now, yes, correspondence between emotions and the notions with intonation. I mean, this is rising and falling tone as we discussed earlier. So recitation is very important. And see, at this level, see, you are in third year. Recitation is very important. It's not that you are saying something to yourself and you are just, confined to yourself and you read it like that. I mean, you notice it. Even small kids, they recite poems in really extraordinary expression, in very, impressive manner. So whenever you, read a poem, you should try to recite the poem. Okay? So the poems, I have felt a presence that disturbed me with a joy, elevated thought, sense sublime, far more deeply infused, dwelling in the setting of the sun. I mean, this kind of expression, try to recite the poems, okay? So beauty is truth, and truth, beauty, John Keats or William Wordsworth, or even, Indian poets, really, Rabindranath Tagore. When mind is without fear, the head is held high. Okay? So this beautiful expressions. So the balance between sounds and rhythmic patterns, choice of words as well as meanings. Okay? Correspondence between the two. Emotions and notions. And we have expressions and intonations, modulation. Okay, is that clear? And yeah, see another word. I mean, this here, pentameter example. There, or we can some iamb. IAMB. This is very important word. So far as poetical expression is concerned, it must be clear to you that some kind of unit of rhythm. Okay, unit of rhythm. When we discuss this point, there is some one short or weak beat followed by long or strong beat in iambic pentameter. Now pentameter, in which we have this 5 beats. Sometimes different beats we have, as in even if you listen to some song, and see, I would like to also discuss this important point, in which we have kinds of poetry also, in which we will discuss, for instance, the lyric and sonnet and elegy and epic and all this sonnet and ode. We'll discuss the kinds of poetry also. So here we have, when we discuss, when we highlight the point, metrical composition. At that time, you must be very well versed, and you must be familiar, or rather you have deeper understanding about iam's one in the unit of rhythm in a poetry. Okay, so it must be clear to you, iamb. And without knowing this, it is really very absurd that you have been studying poetry and you don't know what is iambic and what is iamb and what is rhyme scheme, rhythm, and metrical composition. So these are very important points, integral part of poetry. And so in iambic, what is the meaning? One short or weak beat followed by a long or strong. And so this is beat examples of that. For instance, a sight, a live, a weak and sigh. See, this is, yes. So the strong beat and weak. See, this is the way, a sigh. See, so this kind of, pronunciation we have. And as I have given you an example, this is very nice example of, iambic pentameter. Now, when pentameter means a line of poetry with 5 beats, okay? There, and you must notice this 5 beats there, and it's not that you are confined to this kind of all the time with meter, but students, it is a must to know that meter is an integral part of poetry. It's not necessary that all the time when you compose a poem in certain strict meter, it's not necessary at all. Still, there is some kind of rhythm in the, you sense the rhythm. There is some kind of tune, melody in the poem. It's not that it is just prose in a static form and with flat expression. No. there are really there are some kind of rhythmic recurrent patterns in a poem, and you must sense it, feel it, and then you justify the significance of poetry. But sometimes not very strict meter generally poets follow. But I mean, here my point is that students of literature, they must comprehend these basics of poetry. This is the point. Okay, so we have now, for instance, iambic pentameter, 5 beats are there. Is there clear? Beats in which we have, I listen motionless and still when I up the mountain hill. So 5 beats are there. Okay, and then we have rhyme scheme. Now, what is the meaning of rhyme scheme? Students, I mean, when I put up this question in classroom, they generally get confused regarding this, and some students are really, I mean, very bright, in which their concept is absolutely clear. So it's very simple, in which we identical sound in the end of a line. It's very this is as in this, the music in my heart I bore, and long after it was heard no more. Okay, so this is and in the also in the example, as you see, some poems that you already read even at first year level and second year level, in some kind of rhyme and rhythm. Now in a rhyme scheme, in which, for instance, William Blake's poem, very nice example of that, as you read it at first year level. Tiger, tiger, burning bright. Okay, so bright here rhyming with night, in the forest of the night. Okay, so this is night and bright. So some kind rhythm you have in that. So here these are certain important points for students, that meter and metrical composition. And then we have also, I mean, figure. When we talk, as in the beginning, see, do you remember I touched the point of ornamental language, okay, and figurative language. So now in the next turn we will discuss the figure of speech. Okay, so when you study poetry, you must have idea about figure of speech also, and in which we have, for instance, a figure of speech like say simile, metaphor, paradox, pun, personification, irony, hyperbole, understatement. So the so many we have, and this figurative language is very important, and it really intensifies the effect of poetry. And with the figurative language, some kind of ornamental language. Ornamental language in which it really, yes, signifies the beauty of expression. Thank you. We'll continue the point